She stepped into the dazzling hall with hesitant footsteps, her plain, worn dress a stark contrast to the glittering gowns and polished suits around her. The chandeliers sparkled above, laughter and clinking glasses filled the air, yet she felt every stare piercing through her. The guests, wrapped in luxury and pride, turned to whisper. Some giggled behind jeweled hands, others raised their brows in silent judgment. She didn't need to hear the words to know what they were saying. She doesn't belong here. Her eyes wandered across the room, trying to take in the beauty of it all. She wasn't there for attention, nor to compete with their grandeur. She only wanted to feel, even for a moment, what it was like to be part of something so alive, so warm. But to the people around her, she was nothing more than an intruder, a shadow in their world of light. A group of young women, draped in glittering gowns, snickered loud enough for her to hear, mocking the way she carried her old purse, mocking the courage it must have taken to step inside. A man in a crisp tuxedo shook his head in disbelief, muttering, "How could she even think she belongs here?" She tried to hold her head high, tried not to let their words sting, but her heart beat faster, each glance like a dagger. In a room overflowing with wealth, she stood alone, unaware that destiny had already written her story differently. She hadn't taken more than a few steps inside when a waiter approached her, his smile polite but uneasy. Balancing a silver tray in his hand, he leaned closer and whispered, "Miss, I'm afraid this event is private." Before she could respond, a well-dressed hostess swooped in, her lips curled with disdain. "This isn't for people like you," she said loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. Laughter rippled through the crowd, some shaking their heads as though her presence was the most outrageous thing they had seen that evening. The young woman froze, her throat tightening as if the words had stolen the air from her lungs. She clutched her small, faded purse tighter, the only thing she owned that carried her memories. "I'm sorry," she murmured softly, her voice almost lost in the music. Security guards appeared, firm but not cruel, gesturing for her to leave. The humiliation burned more than the cold night she was about to step into. As she was escorted toward the doors, she glanced back one last time at the sparkling chandeliers and the people basking in luxury. For a moment, she felt like a child left outside a window, peering in at a world she could never reach. She lowered her eyes, not wanting them to see the tears forming, and stepped into the chill of the evening. To the guests inside, she was gone and forgotten. But outside those doors, life had prepared her for a truth that would silence every cruel whisper. The night air stung her cheeks as she stood alone, trying to steady her trembling hands. She pulled her old coat tighter, wishing she could disappear into the shadows. Just then, a gentle voice called her name. Startled, she turned to see an elderly man approaching, his eyes widening in shock as he recognized her. "Is it really you?" he asked, his voice trembling with both surprise and sorrow. "You're your father's daughter. I knew you when you were little." She blinked in confusion, unsure if she had heard him correctly. The man's gaze softened as he continued, "Do they not know who you are? This entire estate, this grand house they just pushed you out of, it belonged to your father. And by his will, it now belongs to you." Her breath caught in her throat. The words echoed in her ears, almost impossible to believe. She looked back at the golden-lit mansion, the place where moments ago she was treated as less than nothing. She wasn't just a stranger who didn't belong, she was the rightful heir, the true owner of everything within those walls. Tears welled in her eyes, not from sadness this time, but from the overwhelming weight of truth. Her father's legacy had been hidden from her, and now it revealed itself in the most unexpected moment. She realized she had never been small, never been unworthy. Destiny had been waiting for her to step into her place, even if the world refused to see it. With the old man's words still ringing in her heart, she walked back toward the mansion, her step steadier this time. No longer shrinking under shame, she held her head high, though her simple clothes hadn't changed. Inside, the music and chatter continued, but as she entered, the room fell into uneasy silence. Guests exchanged puzzled glances. How could she dare return after being thrown out? Then, a man in a dark suit stepped forward beside her, the family lawyer who had been searching for her. With a firm, clear voice, he announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce the rightful owner of this estate, the daughter of the late Mr. Harrington." His words cut through the hall like thunder. Gasps echoed. Glasses nearly slipped from trembling hands. The same people who mocked her moments ago now lowered their eyes, ashamed. The hostess who had humiliated her earlier froze, her face pale, her arrogance evaporating into silence. The waiters who once escorted her out now stood in stunned respect. She looked around at them, not with anger, but with a calm grace that made the moment even more powerful. For the first time, she wasn't the outsider. She wasn't the unwanted guest. She was the soul of the place, the daughter of the man who built it all, the woman who carried its legacy. And in that instant, every whisper, every cruel glance faded into nothing. The hall that once rejected her now belonged to her completely. She stood at the center of the grand hall, the silence heavy as dozens of eyes fixed on her. She could have chosen anger, could have repaid the humiliation she had suffered only moments before. But instead, she let out a steady breath and offered a gentle smile. Her voice, soft yet unshakable, carried through the room. "I know what it feels like to be turned away," she said. "I know what it feels like to be told you don't belong. But from this day forward, this house will not be a symbol of wealth and pride. It will be a place of warmth, of shelter, and of kindness." The crowd stirred, unsure of how to respond. Then she raised her chin, her eyes glistening with quiet strength. "Its doors will remain open to the poor, the hungry, and the forgotten. No one will ever be thrown out again." A hush swept through the hall, followed by slow, heartfelt applause. Some of the guests wiped away tears, their arrogance softened into humility. The same chandeliers that once shone coldly now seemed to glow with a new warmth. In that moment, the mansion transformed. It was no longer a hall for the elite, but a home for humanity. She had taken pain and turned it into purpose. Her final words lingered like a blessing: "True wealth isn't in what we own, it's in how we care for others." And with that, hope filled the room where pride once ruled.